Hello?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the planning board meeting to order for December 5th, 2023. My name is Carrie Martinek, Chair of the Planning Board. A few announcements before we get started with the agenda. This open meeting of the planning board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law March 29, 2023. All members of the planning board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the planning board to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link posted on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. To confirm, board members and personas anticipated on the agenda are present. Please state the following. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Bill Pierce.
Here.
Amy Pretsky.
Here.
Anthony Zaitin.
Here.
Oh, and we lost Millie, it looks like.
I think Millie might have gotten moved to attendees.
Oh,
And I think the one ending in 151 is Millie.
oh, okay. Let's see. It would be certainly a surprise to someone to invited over. Let's see if I can figure out that's Millie. All right, that's not Millie's normal number, but you think that's it, Bill?
I thought that was the one that was there.
Okay. Let's see.
Can't seem to move them to a panelist.
Oh, how did she get stuck out there?
I think, I don't know.
Okay. Let me see. Allowed to talk. Millie, are you back with us there?
She's
She
on
appears
mute.
to be on mute.
I think you can click on her and unmute her.
Hopefully that's me.
To unmute, it should be *9.
Oh, okay, that's Millie, are you there with us?
I'm back. I'm sorry. I got to disconnect.
Okay, great. So just you're here, so I'll assume that's responding in the affirmative. Staff, and I call your name, please
Yes.
respond in the affirmative. Laurie Connors.
Here.
Scott Charpentier.
Present.
Great. Ground rules for the meeting. The chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the board or committee will be conducted by roll call vote. For public comment by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Please note part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing by Zoom. Click raise hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized by the chair. Chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, the chair will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes approximately for any comments. Okay, great. With that, why don't we get started on the agenda for this evening? The first item on the agenda is 0 Boundary Street, public hearing for site plan approval application for a municipal dog park. Before we get started on the application, I'd like to read the public hearing notice. In accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 48, Section 9, the Northborough Planning Board will hold a public hearing on December 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m. to consider the applications below. Pursuant to the Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29, 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. To participate in the public comment portion of this meeting from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or Android device, please click on the URL provided in the agenda with the respective passcodes and webinar IDs and live stream link on YouTube. Consideration of the petition for site plan approval submitted by Scott Charpentier for a dog park facility to be constructed on the property located at 0 Boundary Street, map 31, parcel 9, residential C zoning district and groundwater protection overlay district, area 3. Additionally, we have the consideration of the petition for a wireless communications facility site plan review submitted by Green Mountain Communications for a wireless co-location for West Boylston emergency equipment to be installed on the property at 351 Ball Street, map 11, parcel 5, in the residential A zoning in the residential A zoning district. Application and plans are on file at the town clerk's office, planning office, and may be viewed on the planning department webpage at the town.northborough.mass.us/planning department pages, projects under review, planning board. Great, so that is now read into the record. Why don't we get started with the application for the municipal dog park? And Scott, is there anyone that you'd like me to bring in on your team, or is it just you tonight?
No, we have our project designer, Jonathan Law from Weston and Sampson. If our host or you could promote him, Jonathan Law.
Let's see. I have a John. If you want to raise your hand, I have a bunch of Johns in the audience. Oops, we got them. Great. Okay, anyone else you want to bring over?
No, I believe that's it. Jonathan, are you going to look to share screen during the process?
Yeah, I can do that, Scott.
All right,
Great.
I'll just give a brief intro on the project and how we got to where we are today. And then Jonathan, as the designer, can kind of give you a little more of the details of the project. And we'll both be here and available for questions by the board as well as obviously the public.
Great.
I'm Scott Charpentier, Public Works Director, Northborough. We have a proposed dog park project that's being funded through the Community Preservation Act funds. The dog park location is on Boundary Street. The street is actually owned by Marlboro, but the property itself is located in the town of Northborough and owned by the town of Northborough. The location, if you drive down Hudson Street, take a right onto Boundary Street, just as you're approaching the Marlboro wastewater treatment plant. On the right-hand side, there is a walking trail dirt parking lot that people use. Just past that on the right is a location of the dog park. If you see a duplex beyond that, you've gone too far. So we did a siting analysis about a year and a half ago, looking at different locations in and around town. This was decided upon as the preferred location through a public input process. At that point, we engaged Weston and Sampson to move forward with site analysis and design services. The dog park has been submitted to the Stanton Foundation for funding, for a grant funding consideration. There are certain criteria in that grant program. Lori's more familiar with it than I am, having successfully been awarded that grant in the past. Some of those components are that there is water available for the dogs. It's ADA accessible. There's large and small dog areas and other requirements. So this project has large dog, small dog areas. There is a parking lot, paved parking lot, 10 parking spaces with van accessible handicap space. There's an overflow area that'll be gravel or millings that'll also be used for snow storage. This is a dawn to dusk facility. There will be no lighting. It's open to all public. The water is being supplied by a private on-site non-potable water source. And the project is also before the Conservation Commission due to its proximity to some wetland resources. I believe that public hearing is still in process. The goal and objective is to get through the land permitting through this board as well as the Conservation Commission, receive approvals and conditions, incorporate those conditions into a construction bid set. After hopefully being successful in the grant application to the Stanton Foundation, we will go out for public bid, likely over the winter after the holidays. Award will be made to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, at which point construction will begin. The expectation is construction will occur during the 2024 calendar year, and with all hopes that we can have this open and functional later on in the year. So with that, I guess I'll turn it over to Jonathan if you'd like to get into a little more of the detail on it, and I'm obviously available for any questions as well.
Great.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks, Scott. Great introduction there. I'm not sure how much else I can add, but I'll try and do that. So this is as Scott said, a new dog park that the town's been crying out for many years. We went through a public process. A few sites were selected initially, and then, as Scott mentioned, this one was selected by the public process and designed to move forward with this particular area. It's approximately a 2-acre site, fenced in with a 5-foot black chain link fence around the property. As you mentioned, there's 10 parking spaces, one of which is ADA compliant, and there's an overflow parking area, which is millings, which again will be used for snow storage. This is the overall site, as you can see here. The site limit is the green dashed line, and then the interior is where the dog park is. So where the hand is here is the small dog park area, and then this larger space is for the larger dogs, separated by a fence in the middle. And these areas here are designed to be ADA compliant with the surface of stone dust pavement. Then there's additional fencing around the entire area, which is again 5-foot high chain link. And then this area is designed to be a dog run area through mulched area with existing tree canopy above. So this is more of a kind of a rural sort of dog run for the dogs and the owners. And then, as I said, this is an ADA compliant surface. So if I go to the materials plan and just zoom in there. So again, we come into the site here from Boundary Street, new connection to the road. 5 parking spaces. The ADA compliant space is here, located closest to the entrance. So you come up an accessible walkway here, through a gate into a concrete pad, which will facilitate some benches with on either side a ADA compliant companion space. And then above that is a shade shelter. So again, we're providing moments of shade for people sitting in here. We obviously had to clear some trees within this zone. It's a heavily wooded area. We had to clear trees to make this ADA compliant and regrade this surface. But the majority of the trees will remain within this area. Again, a more natural place for dogs to run. As I mentioned, there is a chain link fence that comes through all the way around and encloses the entire dog run area. And then there's a secondary fence that helps to corral and keep dogs in this zone should owners want to do that. There is a double gate connection here, which allows people to come out of the enclosed space and connect to the trails beyond. Within the easement, which is these 2 dashed lines here, the chain link fence is being designed to be movable, or the panels to come out should that be required at any one point. But again, as I mentioned, this is an entirely enclosed area for the dogs. We do have some stormwater management. So there's a basin in this lower corner that everything sheets to, and stormwater goes off and there. It's treated before it goes elsewhere. We added a screen fence adjacent to the property here to block views of the dog park. There was a comment that we should add some planting in here, but DEP regulations do not allow any planting to be placed within the basin. And if I go to the grading plan, you will see the extents of the basin. So the basin basically comes to the property line, and we need that size of basin to deal with the stormwater that comes off the site. So we couldn't plant anything down here. So the fence will act as screening on that edge. If I go back to zoom in onto the sort of main entry, as I said, parking area here, van accessible aisle brings you in to an accessible walkway, including detectable warning pavers to let you know that you're entering the parking lot when you're coming back out of the site. We have pet waste stations in the enclosed space. You come in this main gate, and then you have an option to take the gate into, like I said, the larger dog park area or the smaller dog park area here. And then as you can see here, this is the shade shelter with the benches beneath with companion spaces on either side for people in wheelchairs. So again, this space totally ADA accessible, graded at 2% or less in any one direction. And then there's a maintenance gate here that can be used to get a connection between these 2 spaces as well. And that's it in essence. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
Great. Board members, any initial questions?
I have a question about the seasonal. use of this park? Is it not to be used at all during the winter, or how is that going to be defined?
We'll be plowing the paved parking area. It won't be locked and closed. The parking area will be, well, I mean, will be plowed. We'll be plowing the parking area. I'd indicated that is dawn to dusk, not seasonal. So it will be open all year long. Obviously, depending on snow cover, depends on how much traffic it sees. But we will be plowing and maintaining the parking lot and the walkways.
Okay, okay. I think that was the main question I had, was what was seasonal, but yeah, okay.
I've got a question.
Sure.
How did you get to the parking spaces and how many you would need to accommodate this?
Do you want to approach that one, Scott, or do you want?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's in the transportation and parking manuals, there really isn't a category for dog parks. So we try to fit it in with something similar, like a passive recreation. So it's a similar size parking lot. If you can consider just the paved area as what you would see at one of our other trailheads. We weren't sure if that was going to be adequate space, so we added in the overflow area, which is the snow storage in the winter and overflow parking during the non-winter season.
So roughly doubling the size of
Yeah.
parking.
Yep.
Exactly, yes.
Any thoughts or discussion around, and I don't know, I mean, who knows how popular this could be? I think you're going to get potentially a lot of people from surrounding towns taking advantage of this. But I'm just thinking about traffic and parking, and if that lot is full, are people going to start parking up on Boundary Street? And I don't know if that's just been thought about or discussed, or any thoughts on that?
I'm not sure what, I mean, I'm sure the dog park will be used quite a bit. I'm not sure the duration of use. The park is likely to have a lot of turnover. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Laura, you have
Yeah, your hand's up there, Lori. Do you have something for that?
Millbury,
Yeah,
right?
so I have experience with the Millbury Dog Park, which was actually open to the public. It was one of the first municipal dog parks in Central Mass. I believe it's been open since 2014. And I was the project manager for that project and chair of the board, committee for many years. So we did have special events on occasion, you know, special seasonal events and fundraisers and classes. And at that time, we would see a greater uptick in traffic, which is parking rather, which is why we thought that it would be prudent to do an overflow area. But during the regular course of events, you usually don't see more than, say, 6 to 8 dogs at any one time. And that's like the heyday in the summertime when the weather is beautiful. So a lot of times when the dog park will be in use, it'll only be in use by a couple of folks and their dogs. So the heaviest periods of activity are usually the evenings after work, when the weather is nice, and on the weekends, of course. So I suspect that the paved parking area with the 10 spaces will be more than enough the vast majority of the time. And for those special occasions, like at the dog park in Millbury, we would do the Halloween parade of pets, and we might have 25 dogs participating in that. That was the largest attendance we ever had. So there would be more cars, but other than that, the attendance tends to be rather low. So I don't anticipate these 10 spaces being full, except maybe a couple of times a year.
So along those lines, I don't know if it was just me who didn't receive these or if everybody else did, but we had like a crash report from the Marlborough Police Department, an email from Chris Carlton from Northborough Police Department, and then an email from Bob in regards to parking. Does everyone on the board have copies of those? I don't know if my email is just funky or what.
I don't know if I saw it, but
Yeah, I
just-
sent
I-
those
I
out
did
over
get-
time. So that's information that I gathered over time. And we had uploaded to the website. It was part of the package.
Right, so I went to the website and I didn't see like the police department letter or the crash report, and I don't think we always post emails, so I don't know. Does everybody else have access to those? Or I guess if I'm the only one, I don't know what happened. Sometimes maybe my email's funky. But what Lori, could you just summarize what that entails? So like, is the Northborough Police Department any issues there? Or I don't know why we got a crash report, things like that.
Yeah, so I reached out to the Northborough Police Department, and they said that they don't really respond to crashes because the roadway is actually in the city of Marlborough.
Okay.
So they had done an assist for one of the crashes. So during that period of time, they were only aware of a single crash. So I reached out to the Marlborough Police Department, and of course they had more extensive information about the crash. And let me see if I have it, if you just bear with me a minute.
Sure.
Yeah, so if you look at the development impact statement that I
Oh, is it located
submitted,
in there? Okay.
yeah, I had summarized the information under the traffic impact. So it says, according to the Northborough and Marlborough Police Departments, there were a total of 18 crashes on Boundary Street from the period of January 1st, 2020 to November 6th, 2023. Of those, 11 crashes occurred at or near the intersection of Boundary Street and Elm Street. So only one crash occurred in the vicinity of the proposed project at 303 Boundary Street when a vehicle veered off the road and struck a fire hydrant. So the vast majority of the crashes, the overwhelming majority of the crashes occurred very close to the intersection of Route 20 and Boundary Street. So that's quite a distance. There's like an S-shaped curve in that location over by East Street. And it seems like that location tends to attract accidents. So there were no concerns that they had in this specific location.
Got it. And then there was an email from Bob, a parking requirement for dog park. Did we get that? So I see these are on the findings of fact. So typically we receive whatever evidence is part of the application. I don't know if it's just my email or the rest of the boards. Do you guys also have the email from Bob on parking requirements or no?
I did.
Okay, so I must have something funky going on with my email. I'll reach out afterwards about
No, I
that.
did have them, didn't. I did.
You did what?
I had the email.
Oh, you did have the email. Yeah, I did not. I don't have a bunch of these, so I wonder. It's
Oh,
just
you don't? Okay.
No, like even our login tonight, I didn't get. So something's weird with my email. Anyway, no big deal. So I assume whatever you relayed, Lori, about the parking was a similar response based on what Bob had said about parking
Yes.
requirements. Okay, great.
Yeah, so I included that in the application packet. So it wasn't a separate email the way you typically get it. It was actually in the application itself. So I was looking for guidance from him on what he thought an appropriate number of parking spaces would be. And of course, there's nothing in our zoning bylaw to really address it. So he was basing it upon his own experience with Tufts Medical has a dog park in Grafton. And he thought that this number of spaces would be appropriate because with his experience with that dog park, he never really sees any more than 5 or 6 cars at one time.
Got it. Okay, and you submitted comments. Did you want to speak to any of those? Or actually any other, I'm sorry, I didn't finish asking the board. Amy, you have questions as well?
Yeah, just a quick one. Jonathan, you mentioned it was a 2-acre park. And I think it was a 2-acre and there are other paperwork mentioning it's 1.2 acres. Can you just explain that?
We've calculated it to be approximately, 1 second. Yeah, just over 2 acres.
So just to clarify, the area of disturbance is 2 acres. So that includes everything. So that includes
Yep.
the parking lots, the stormwater mitigation facilities, everything. The fenced in area, so the play area itself is 1.2 acres.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions?
I just have
I'm
one
just
quick question. It talks
Go ahead.
about stripping and stockpiling of topsoil. Will that topsoil be taken away? Do you know, Jonathan, or is it going to be used in the park?
It depends if the contractor will test the topsoil, and if it can be used on the site, then it'll be used. If not, it'll be hauled off site. So we write specifications to cover that in there.
How are you
But
bringing water to the property? Sorry for interrupting.
There's an existing, we're going to have a new well. There's an existing well off property that originally we were going to tie into, but we're not going to do that now. So we're going to form a new well roughly in this location here, and that's how they'll get the water for the site.
Okay. Other questions? Hours of operation, are there, I'm sorry if I missed that. Are there specific hour? I only saw hours for construction, but are there hours of operation for
I
the
believe
park?
it's dawn to dusk for
Dawn to dusk.
hours of use. Yes.
Okay, so then there's no lighting or anything
No,
like
there's
that?
no lighting. No.
Okay. And then, of course, with any park or area where there's no lighting, is there any issue? I guess the police, did the police chief also submit anything about safety or concerns with after dark? Or I know when we did the town common, I think we had some concerns about lighting or things like that. Scott, you may remember that. What did we have to do for making sure there's safety in general? Anything at all, or?
When the rear parcel was donated by the family to the town common, one of the police chief's comments was to make sure there's a clear line of sight to the back portion of the lot. So when they're doing their rounds, there aren't any corners for people to hide in.
I mean,
All
that's
of our
probably,
facilities are dawn to dusk. I'm not sure, I'm probably pretty sure that Northborough PD currently does not have Boundary Street in their patrol. Once this facility is up and operational, it will certainly become part of their patrol. And my guess is that parking lot will be their turnaround. They'll
Okay.
come down Hudson Boundary, turn around that parking lot, spread their headlights, and then go back into town.
And we do have clear sight lines from this entry or exit point from Boundary Street into the dog park itself. Obviously,
Okay.
in the wooded area beyond, that's
Right.
unlikely, but in the main dog area, yes, there are sight lines.
Great. Okay, other questions?
So what does the total cost of the project look like at this point?
We haven't
You know?
updated the construction cost estimate yet. We're waiting on incorporation of comments from the Conservation Commission as well as this board before the construction cost estimate is updated. Lori, do you remember what went into the CPC and Stanton Foundation?
If I recall, the combined cost, the latest cost estimate was somewhere in the neighborhood of 550 or 575,000. So we are
what I remember as
seeking
well.
a grant from the Stanton Foundation in the amount of 250,000.
And is there a possibility that we don't get that? And if so, what's the plan then?
I'm fairly confident that we're gonna get it because I've been in communication with the Stanton Foundation all along. So we were
Okay.
awarded a design grant. So typically when you're awarded a design grant, that means you're gonna get a construction grant. They did submit some suggestions for modifications, which have been incorporated, and I did include the letter from Joe Kennedy of the Stanton Foundation. So the last communication I had with him about a week ago was he wants to see the final design plans, he wants to see the bid documents and the cost estimate, and then I anticipate we'll get a check at that point.
Okay. And construction doesn't start until that's secured?
I anticipate it'll probably start weather permitting in April of 2024. Of course, we have to go out to bid, so we can't go out to bid until we know we have that grant from the Stanton Foundation.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
And of course, we need the permits in hand.
Right.
There are a couple of waiver requests in play for the board. I think everybody is aware. But if there's any discussion, there's a waiver for an application fee, a waiver requested for rules and regs, section 7.2 D1A, requirement to submit a locus plan at scale of 1=100. Right now it's 1=500 feet. Motion to waive planning board rules and regs, requirement to submit a detailed traffic impact analysis. Any discussion or questions about the requested waivers? Okay, and then Lori, you had comments that looks like most have been addressed. Is there anything, and there, I know a new plan came in on the 29th. Is there anything that you feel has not been addressed to speak to the comments you've made, or any comments you want to bring up for the board specifically, or further questions?
So my one concern was, of course, the housing authority owns the duplex next door. And when we were going through the visioning session to select the site about a year ago, I know they were particularly concerned about impacts to those who live at the duplex. So originally I had hoped that we could do the 6-foot solid fence complemented by arborvitae. Have since learned that the arborvitae isn't possible. So as an alternative, I would suggest a 7-foot tall solid fence. Whether it's vinyl or wood, I don't care, although Scott probably would have a preference.
Scott, do you have a preference?
Yeah, my preference would be to wood. Wood can be repaired slat by slat. Vinyl, once a panel is broken, the panel is broken, you replace the whole thing. Chain link fence with visual slats could also be an option, I think, but that's just public works speaking.
That's what we're currently showing, Scott, but we can easily change out to a 7-foot tall privacy wood fence.
Maybe as an, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
No, go ahead. No, right ahead. No, that's good.
Maybe what we can do is commit to having the 7-foot chain link with privacy slats as a base bid, and an alternate be the wood stockade. There's a substantial cost difference, and considering the amount of chain link fence already in the project, it's likely far more cost effective to do that than a wood stockade. I'm not sure how the board would like to view that.
Comments from the board on that one?
I have a couple questions. If you did the chain link with the slats, I know Jonathan said you can't put the bushes over by the basin, which is in the top right, but could you put them in the area past the basin, like the arborvitae? So then it would be in the area where the house is. So is there anywhere placed there that you could put the arborvitae?
So you see the basin is basically sort of this area here.
Oh, I thought it was up further.
So you're not really going to gain anything by planting down here. The sort of request was to plant along sort of this section, which is not really feasible.
Because the TP said he can't.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Lori's recommending though is actually replacing that chain link fence with the solid vinyl. So having it be that chain link fence with privacy screen is not the option. It would be the vinyl as the base component. Is that right, Laurie? Is that what you're saying in your comments?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand the cost factor. But I was just trying to be responsive to the requests of the housing authority.
There could always be so when you install a chain link fence, what you do is, and Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll typically have a 12-inch drilled foundation. The fence post goes into the foundation, and the center therefore your chain link fence is 6 inches off the property line if the face of the 12-inch bore is on the property line. So you have 6 inches of soil between the fence fabric and the property line. There's always an option for a growing vine planting on the butter's side of the chain link fence within the town's property. So it's not just a blank chain link fence, it's a morning glory line, or I don't know what, you're the landscape architect, Jonathan, not me. Something that climbs and looks pretty.
Yeah, and I mean, if the option is to plant on the property of the abutter, then obviously that is something that can be done. Obviously, we couldn't show it because it's outside the limits of our scope and outside the limits of this project. But again, that's a discussion that could be had with the housing authorities to whether they'd allow some planting on their side of the fence.
I also, is the chain link fence going to be higher in that? Because if you lived in that house and you were enjoying your backyard, you might not want to see everybody in the dog park. Like, I liked how Lori's vinyl fence was 7 feet high. It's a sound block. It's a visual block. It's just a little more extra protection for people who are now going to have to live next door to the dog park. I don't know.
It's just a cost. I mean, the only reason I made a comment on chain link is because of cost. That's the only difference.
I mean, again, we can show whatever fence the planning board prefers or the town prefers along the edge. We can show that.
Okay, do we need to do something? So if we don't get the grant, or if we don't get the money that funds that, I don't want to stop up the whole project if we are short by like whatever that extra fence is. Is that a potential or not really? It's a minor difference.
Well, 7-foot chain link fence, Jonathan, is in the $50 to $60 a linear foot range installed, and vinyl maybe 80 to 120. 7 foot tall. Is that about where you see it, Jonathan?
Yes.
So when you got 150 feet of it, and there's an extra, $50 a linear foot, 15 grand. It turns into money.
Okay, so how does the board feel about that? I mean, I hate to make a condition with a condition, but I wonder, if we can't get, again, I don't want to stop the whole project. Any thoughts on how we could make that, go for what we really want, but leave a little bit of flexibility in case the grant doesn't support it, or thoughts on that from the board? Oops, Bill,
I mean,
did you
do we have to go
Yeah.
the entire length of the fence? I guess we would, yeah.
Well, just the length near the house, the top part, the property
Right,
line.
that's what I'm wondering.
You can condition the
Yeah.
approval that the 7-foot stockade fence is required to be the base bid, and chain link with privacy slat as the alternate. So the only reason you can engage the alternate is if the delta means the project is awardable or not. So the base is Cadillac, and then the Chevy is the alternate.
I like that. How do board, Bill, did you get cut off there? Were you trying to say something?
Yeah, no, I like the idea of having the plantings there because it adds a little bit extra. Amy, sort of to your point, I think they were talking a 7-foot fence there, so I'm not sure how much the neighbors would actually see over a 7-foot fence rather than a 5-foot that's going to be the rest of the. And I'm assuming, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a 5-foot around the rest of the property. It's just a 7-foot there.
That's correct.
So, but I like the idea of having the vines growing up on the side on either side of it if we could. It just adds that extra, sort of that extra thickness to the fence to keep the sound down.
Jonathan, is there a wet foot climber that is appropriate for this location?
There would be slim choices, and I think that if you go with the wood stockade fence, I'm not sure how much soundproofing a vine would add to that.
I wouldn't put vine on wood. It'll borrow into the wood and ruin
exactly.
it. It's either vegetation and chain link or stockade.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, but which do you, it's one or the other, Bill. You like the planting and the chain link?
I think we go with the planting and the chain link as the primary, and then the secondary is the stockade in the bid.
Oh,
Right, Scott?
interesting. So
That's
I'm
what you
the
said.
reverse of that. Yeah. No, Scott had the reverse of that. The
Oh, yeah,
stockade space. Yeah. The chain link's the alternate.
Honestly, to me, it doesn't matter one way or the other which one is the primary. I think as long as we have both of them in the bid, and get the pricing on both of them, and then we can decide.
Oh,
Or,
you're just saying
Scott can decide.
Got it. Okay, so you're just saying if we go with chain link, we want the plantings with it. There should be the chain link with the plantings.
Yes.
Regardless of its primary. Okay, got it.
So again, the only issue with that is if we have to find a specific species that would climb this fence in this type of environment. And again, without doing a little bit of research, I'm not sure that there is something that fulfills that requirement. So if you hold us to planting some vine on that fence and there's one that's not appropriate for a wet location or a shady environment, then we're going to have some issues.
Okay.
Wait, on the chain link you'd have trouble, or on the vinyl you'd have trouble?
Well, it's not the climbing the fence. It's the environment that we're asking this vine to grow in. So it's a wet location with the base in there. It's also shady. So we have to find something that grows in this zone that meets those other criteria, which brings down the possibilities to very slim. So
Okay.
if a requirement is to grow something up the fence and we can't find something to grow up the fence, then what is the solution?
Lori, how difficult is it to come back for that kind of modification?
That would be a minor change. So typically, if it's a minor matter, then it would be approved by the planning director, the building inspector, and the assistant DPW director.
So you wouldn't be dead in the water. You just have to come back around.
Yeah, if it's something major, then it would go to you folks.
Amy, you have something? I see your hand there.
Yeah, I wouldn't put the vine on the dog fence part, on the dog park side, because I know my dog chews at vines and plantings, and some of them are poisonous for dogs. So I don't know. I wouldn't add any type of vines inside the park if it was me, because then my dog would be over there pulling it off and eating it. So
they won't have access. They won't have access to it.
Oh, okay.
There's a fence around the dog park, and then there's the basin, and then there's the privacy fence.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just didn't want to add in anything poisonous.
Yeah.
We'll try to avoid that.
Maybe you could do get a price on the vinyl, the stockade, then the fencing, the chain link, and between you, Lori, you can make the decision on what fencing to use.
Yeah, and at that point we can bring in the housing authority, but there's no reason we can't reach out to the executive director. Here are the bids, here are the numbers, here are the options.
Right.
It's not,
Okay,
that's not
so
uncommon.
is the board open to a condition that addresses this, but it's flexible enough for staff to just pick the fence in the end, so we don't have to. Is that what you're saying, Amy? Just,
Yeah, and I would
Alright.
start with the vinyl because I think along the neighbor's house, that would be the best, but it might be too expensive. So I
Right.
do the vinyl, the stockade, and then the chain link. And
Okay.
depending on the bid and what Lori and Scott decide, along with the housing authority, then that would be fine.
Any board member object to that approach? Or have a different idea?
I'm just wondering if we even have to put it in as a
that sounds
condition.
good.
I think Lori recommended it as a condition in her comments.
Okay.
You know, Scott and I are working together on the project. So if you're okay with us having the discretion to decide what works best, then that's fine. We don't have to include it as a condition.
Oh, it'll
Can
just
I-
be a part of the plan?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I just add a comment about the aesthetics look of a fence? So
Sure.
a white vinyl fence will always be white and garish to the view from the abutting property. However, a stockade wooden fence will gray over time and disappear as it gets older. So that's something to consider as you make a recommendation or you choose a fence type. Do you want something that is bright and always seen, or do you want something that over time will kind of just disappear into the landscape?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can cut out the vinyl if you want.
Well, it's sounding, Lori, like you're saying we don't even need it as a condition, and you can select a fence that makes sense for that based on what we have for a budget. Do we want a primary choice of the stockade, and then after that, staff can kind of decide, or actually, if it's not a condition, then I guess it doesn't matter at this point.
I think there should be a condition that it's 7 feet along that property line, though. Unless it's already in there.
That's already in the plan.
Is it already in the plan?
Yep.
The 6 foot tall fence is in the plan, not 7 foot.
Okay. Yeah, it should be 7 feet, I think.
Okay, so if Lori, is there a condition we could word that kind of gets to the heart of, first of all, what's everybody's primary choice? Stockade, vinyl, chain link.
Doesn't matter.
Mine is stockade.
Does anybody know how long stockade, I'm assuming that's wood, how long what the lifespan is of that?
Not
Is it
sure.
pressure treated?
I mean, I would estimate it's likely longer than vinyl. I mean, the resident side of the vinyl is going to get brittle in the sun. You know, it's a non-owner occupied. I'm sure they'll have families coming and going. And I know what my son did to our vinyl fence when he was playing ball in the yard. So the wood fence I have it's never going anywhere. The vinyl seems to be cracking constantly.
Yeah, and if a branch falls off a tree and hits the vinyl, it's destroyed it. Whereas again, if it's the
whole
wooden,
thing.
it's a
Yeah.
lot more. Yeah, you can replace just some panels on the wood fence, but it's a lot more durable.
Okay, do we want our primary to be the stockade then? And then beyond that, staff can decide. The primary goal is to get a 7 foot fence there. Okay, 7 feet.
Yeah.
Stockade. Scott Charpentier repaints it every year. Do you want And otherwise, staff can decide if there's an alternate and a need for an alternate. But whatever the alternate is, should be 7 feet, I think.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Lori, did you have other comment? Anything else that wasn't addressed necessarily by your comments?
Nope. They were very responsive. So
Yeah, I saw that. Any other questions or comments from the board or staff?
I'm good.
Okay, so in that case, we would have conditions. There is a draft decision.
Well, Carrie, you might want to open it for public comment.
Thank you so
Yep.
much. I'm so sorry. Yes, this is a public hearing and I would welcome public comments at this time. If you would like to make a comment, you can raise your hand and I'll bring you in to talk, or if you're on your phone, I think it's *9 to speak. Oops, sorry. The first one I have here is Cindy. If you could just say your name and address, please. Hi, Cindy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Just your name and address for the minutes.
Great. Sure. It's my name is Cindy and I'm at 186 Boundary Street.
Great.
So my question, well, the first comment I would make is I've lived here for over 20 years now on this road. And one of the really nice things about this is the wildlife that we have. We do have a high water table. We have salamanders and all kinds of really cool frogs and lady slippers. So this has been my big concern about, this coming in and losing that or compromising that. So I've been hearing with the synthetic turf containing the forever chemicals, the PFAS, polyfluoroalkyls, and they're cancer causing. So there's a concern about if the synthetic turf is used, what would be the risk of contamination if it were to contain that? And then the other concern is with the local wells. We all have water wells. And, you're talking about the shallow bedrock. And now you guys are going to be using the well. What is the risk of contamination from the soil leaching into the ground as well?
Okay. So two questions there sounded like. Does anybody have an answer for the synthetic turf component or just the forever chemicals?
Well, currently we're proposing to use stone dust, not the synthetic turf.
And then in terms of the well, any risk there for the wells or anything we need to think about mitigation?
I'm not a well expert. I can't answer that question.
The proximity of the dog areas is beyond what the DEP offset is between a private drinking water well and a private septic system. So Mass DEP has requirements that you have 100 feet between your drinking water well and your 50 feet between your drinking water well and your septic system, and that is our dog park is beyond that from the well. It's at 164-66 boundary. I think that's the closest parcel. Let me confirm that number.
Did that answer your question, Cindy?
It does. There's the concern about just the ongoing the soil. If it's being removed, if it's contaminated over time and it's removed, that would be a great thing. Or just some way to prevent that, because I think over a long period of time you would have some contamination from the area. So if they could take it out, then that would be good.
And this still goes to, you mentioned the surrounding area. This still goes to Conservation Commission as well. Do we know when that is, when it goes to Conservation?
December 11th.
Okay, so
is when
there's
the
always the
public
Conservation Commission as well that will review this. You just mentioned some of the other components. And I don't think it's an endangered species. You mentioned the salamanders. This is not an endangered species zone, is it? I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
So the only pollutants that would result from this project are, of course, dog waste. So there are going to be a number of mutt stations located around the dog park, and the users are going to be expected to clean up after their dogs. And then the waste will be put into these trash bins, and they will be emptied on a weekly basis into a dumpster, which is going to be fenced in. And then the other waste would be from just the parking lot itself. And that is going to be captured in the stormwater basin. It'll be cleansed and it'll be infiltrated into the ground. So there shouldn't be any negative impact to any of the drinking wells from this project.
And I just did confirm, so the setback distance between a septic system and a drinking water well that are private is 50 feet. The nearest well at 164, 166 Hudson, Boundary Street is more than 50 feet away from the dog park surface. And any waste pollutant that goes into the ground from the dog park is certainly going to be a lower concentration than what we flush through our septic systems in our homes. So not that there is a DEP compliance requirement here, we've met the intent.
Got it. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Let's see. I have Lauren Bailey. Just your name and address, please. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Carrie. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Great. Thank you. Lauren Bailey Jones, 11 Elmwood Drive, and I am speaking as a Northborough resident tonight. So I just wanted to say thank you to Scott and Jonathan for showing the plans tonight and for the planning board for your thoughtful comments this evening. Northborough Unleashed, which is a group in town that formed about 3 or 4 years ago, has been working to support this dog park for a few years now. And we've been at several other public hearings in support of this dog park, and we really like the plans that were presented this evening. We are in support of the dog park, and we really appreciate the planning board tonight and all of your consideration. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for your comments. Okay. Other comments or questions from the audience? Okay, I don't see any other hands at this time. Okay. Based on those questions or comments, any additional questions or comments from board members or staff? Okay, we currently have a draft conditions. Has the applicant seen the draft conditions? Lori, or do you want to go through them?
I can't remember if I sent them to you, Scott.
I haven't seen them. I saw your comment letter. We went over that with the updated drawings. I have not seen the draft conditions.
Okay, would you like to go and take a look at them together?
I can go through those quickly if you'd like.
Sure, that'd be great.
So of course, the first one has to do with the compliance with rules, regulations, codes, and the need to obtain all necessary permits and approvals. Some of these are standard conditions that every project has.
I've seen, just if you want to make it, I've seen all the standard conditions on several past projects. If there are special conditions that have been added, maybe that'll move things along for the board for the next agenda item, if it's okay with the chair.
Yeah,
Great.
the only special one is the groundwater protection overlay district boundary is wrong, so that just needs to be corrected. Comment from the fire chief was that we need to obtain a 911 address for the parcel. DPW director will conduct inspections. As-built plan, maintenance will be, maintenance of plantings will be in perpetuity. And other than that, it's just the standard requirements.
So then, Lori, I think there was the 7-foot tall fence in here under B. So that I think we just need to modify as discussed. Okay.
So I would modify the language. So under prior to construction activity, the applicant shall submit a site plan for planning director review and approval with the following modifications. And one was to swap out the 6-foot chain link fence with privacy slats for the 7-foot tall. I said vinyl, but happy to put stockade. So I just modify that as we discussed, saying that that there would be an alternative. So the top choice is the 7-foot tall stockade fence. If funding becomes a problem, then the alternative would be 7-foot tall chain link fence with privacy slats.
Okay. And for hours of operation, I know we talked about dawn to dusk. Is that just a municipal land policy that we don't have to put a condition in for that? That's just
That's
Stand-
all of our parks and open air facilities are dawn to dusk, yes.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
So are there any questions or further comments about the proposed conditions or other conditions for consideration?
One quick question, is the sign gonna match the picture so it will look like all the other signs in town? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think you submitted the Ellsworth Park sign as a sample for that. No.
Yep, that was what we use as a basis for the Welcome to Northborough with a slight modification, but the Ellsworth sign is our standard signs. We have the same at the Memorial.
Looks nice.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions on this one? And no further comments from the public, it looks like. Don't see anything there. So with that, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Amy,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
and carries an aye. Is there a motion to waive the application fee?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
and carries an aye. Motion to waive planning board rules and regs section 7.2 D1A requirement to submit a locust plan at the scale of 1 = 100 feet. The submitted locust plan is at the scale of 1 = 500 feet. 1 inch = 500 feet.
So moved.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
and carries an aye. Motion to waive planning board rules and regs section 7.2 D1A requirement to submit a detailed traffic impact analysis.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
and carries an aye. Okay, so this is for site plan approval. Does the board want to go down the criteria for site plan to make sure we cover everything? Why don't we do that for the record, as we do with all of our projects? Okay, criteria for a site plan. Okay, so the site plan should meet all applicable requirements of the bylaw. So if everybody, oh shoot, I'm in the yellow book. I don't know if it's the same page in the red book. I'm on page 716. Is that the same page still in the red book?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if everyone has that page of their bylaws, then I don't have to read every single word of it. But given the location type and extent of land use proposed by the proponent, the design of the building form, building location, egress points, grading, and other elements of the site plan could not be reasonably altered to reduce clearing and grading on the site or reduce the volume of cut and fill and so on.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Yep.
just let me know if you don't agree. Reduce the risk of groundwater contamination from on-site wastewater disposal systems or operations and so on.
Yep.
Yep.
Improve pedestrian, bicycle, or vehicular safety and so on.
Yep.
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 Okay, improve access to each structure for fire and other emergency service equipment.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. And we didn't discuss it, but there was a letter specifically from the fire chief. He had no issue. Reduce visual intrusion by controlling the visibility of parking, etc.
Yep.
Yep.
We did talk about that. Achieve greater consistency and compatibility with the surrounding area as to building design or scale or site design.
Yep.
Yep.
Reduce glare from headlights, reduce light trespass. That seems to be not applicable with dawn to dusk. Any other thoughts on that?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, avoid
Not
the
applicable.
removal. Yep, not applicable. Avoid the removal or disruption of historic, traditional, or significant structures, etc.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, reduce obstruction of scenic views from publicly accessible locations.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and there are no variances required from the ZBA on this project, I assume. I didn't see that in the application. Okay. Okay, so with that, is there a motion to grant site plan approval for section 7-03-050 A1A to allow the construction of a fenced-in municipal dog park, parking area, and associated improvements on the subject property located at 0 Boundary Street, subject to findings of fact 1 through 5 and conditions A through L? And
So
don't say,
moved.
okay. That's fine.
Second,
Second,
All right. Just double checking 1 through 5. Correct. Okay, great. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Millie,
aye.
and carries an aye. So this site plan unanimously passes and Northborough has a dog park at last, or soon to be.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thanks to
Chair.
everybody
Thank you,
for
board
work.
members, and thank you to the public for the support. I appreciate it very much.
Yes,
Wow.
Northborough Unleashed did a great job with that. And I think I saw Lee Welch
Yeah.
on the
He
meeting.
was here.
I know she really pushed for this too. So congrats
And
to all.
Anthony started like 10 or 20 years ago, right,
Oh,
Anthony?
yeah, that's right.
He was the
15
first
years
dog
ago.
park person.
Thank you
How
all.
many years ago?
About 15, I think.
Wow.
Well,
All come
Wow.
together.
somebody else picked it up.
Good
All right, well,
Thank you,
thanks,
everybody.
night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Next on the agenda, we have 200 Bartlett Street, minor modification of the construction phasing schedule. And for that, who am I bringing in for this particular project?
Let's
Is that
see. You want to
Dario?
bring in Dario Designs?
Okay. Anyone else? Hi, Dario. Is there anyone else joining you tonight?
Rick Gates, DVX.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Rick. Anybody else? I thought Rick, I don't know why Rick's not coming in. Come on to panelist. Dario, can you hear us okay? Oh, and Ben Stone, is that another one? He has his hand up.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So, oh, and do you see how to bring Rick in for some reason? Oh, yeah, he's rejoining as a panelist. And then Ben Stone is another one. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there's Rick. Yep. And Rick, is Ben coming on with you as well? For some reason, it's taken a bit to get people over.
You're
Oops,
on mute. Rick
We
Gates
can't
is
hear
on
you.
mute.
Yeah, Ben's with us.
Oh,
Yep.
great. Oh, there he is. Okay, anybody else that you want to bring over?
Nope.
All right, well, welcome back. I think we had confusion on the last time around, so I apologize for that. Is there something you wanted to present this evening, or do we have something? Oops, there you are. Hello.
Hello. I think we submitted everything. Hopefully it's self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, we can certainly answer them. It was just a minor modification is all.
Okay, do you mind giving just like a quick high level overview and
Sure. So there's 2 buildings on site, 180 Bartlett and 200 Bartlett. 200 Bartlett is pretty much starting construction, and the goal is simply to phase the previous site plan approval so that 200 Bartlett Street is independent of the rest of the site. I mean, so all work will be done except for 200 the work immediately around 200 Bartlett Street, and it's sort of noted on the plan there.
okay. So it doesn't necessarily change anything in the decision, it's just allowing 2 phases of construction.
Exactly.
Okay,
Just so that when the owner is ready to occupy 180, I think or I should be saying 200. When the owner is ready to occupy 200, the goal is to be able to occupy it before 180. That's all.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, anything from staff? Lori, any questions or comments from you?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify why I'm sending them to you. So typically what happens when you have multiple buildings on a lot, they can't get any occupancy permits for any of the buildings until the project is 100% complete. So that would mean both buildings and all of the parking and everything else that's affiliated with the project, including the landscaping. So because they're not sure of the timeline of this second building, they are hoping to get the occupancy permit for 200 before, and possibly before they start construction on the other building. So because this isn't a typical situation, I just wanted to make sure that we had your blessing, that you're okay with that, so that they can get their full occupancy at 200.
Okay, any concerns or comments from board members? Bill, you have
I
something?
assume that I assume the building inspector doesn't have any problems with that?
We met with the building inspector and he was on board with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. My comment was very similar. So we just learned at the last meeting that that building that's on Main Street across from Dunkin' Donuts, the reason that the bottom wasn't occupied was because, you know, that they were having construction issues, but the top was. So I just want to make sure that we're not going to have an empty building here for, you know, 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, that's not the intent here for sure. And I think Lori said it as well. All the landscaping and everything else will be 100% complete. We're just looking to get into 200 as soon as possible and don't want to wait for the other one to be completed before we get into 200. But they need the other one for all the training applications.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I just, like I said, you know, we already have one eyesore. I just don't want another one. That's all. But I appreciate the information. Thank you.
So do they need something in writing from us? Like, does Bob need something in writing for us?
Yeah, we'll make a motion to modify. We'll vote to modify it.
But
So
there's
if you
nothing in the
folks-
decision.
If you folks approve it, what I'll do is I'll do a letter to Bob Frederico, memorializing your vote. And so that'll go into his file. That will go to the applicant and that will go into our file. So it'll be attached to the decision. So that's how, and it will also be filed with the town clerk. So they'll have a copy of it as well.
And there's no way to put in any sort of a bond that they would monetarily put in?
One of the
ensure they're
things
gonna
that
complete the project?
we discussed during the meeting that we had last week on site is that the expectation would be that all of the site work would be done except for that little area in the phase 2 location shown on this plan.
Okay.
So if it wasn't 100% done and they were interested in getting a temporary occupancy permit, then they would have to put up a cash bond
Okay.
to guarantee the balance of the construction.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel about putting up a cash bond for that 180 building. We could do that, or we could not do that. You know, that's certainly something that I'd be interested in hearing your feedback on.
Any thoughts from the board on that?
I mean, obviously, to Bill's point, we don't want either an empty building or an eyesore. So to have some investment and intent from the property owner to finish the project and move it along is ideal.
So for the applicant, do you envision any sort of, or anticipate any sort of delay, or is this, I mean,
I'm gonna let Rick speak to that. Rick, are you here?
Yeah. At this juncture, utilizing that building certainly seems, because it's old and decrepit, and the amount of time to bring it up to speed compared to what the other building is primarily the reason we have thought. So actually tearing that building down and putting up something smaller, give back some green, et cetera. So we just basically we need a little more time because it's taking all my time to take care of the rest of the phase one. And I'd like to get that done so that we can appropriately, design something that will work well with the town, work well for us. So that it's a win-win all the way around. We want to roll right into it, but it's just going to take time. By the time we get a new design, get it okay from you people and whomever else we need, it's just going to take time. And instead of having our maintenance facility sitting empty and not usable, that would be, arduous for us. So that's the reason for this, so that we can, keep operating our equipment and taking care of our equipment while we're redesigning this and getting the approval stamp from everybody and move forward. And we look forward to having a new building and I look forward to having the project completed. That's for sure. But we're gonna roll right into it as quickly as we can. That's prudent for the situation.
okay. So I'm normally, I would be in favor of a bond, but if you guys think about where this is out on Bartlett Street and what it looks like now, I don't view this as a super risk. Like in a worst case scenario, there's really, like, it's not in the heart of downtown. Bill, your point about Monument Place is a good one, but we drive by that all, this is kind of out of the way. So it's almost not really a super risk for me. I don't know how other board members feel.
And we are gonna put all the plantings in as much as we can that won't die over the winter, but everything we can put in, we're going to very soon. As a matter of fact, within another couple of weeks, I believe we're going to start putting trees in, etc. But we're going to really make it as beautiful as we can, as complete as we can initially, and then as soon as the spring breaks, we're gonna make it look great. I mean, that was the whole purpose of that extensive landscape plan we brought to you people. So we're looking forward to that.
Right.
And I think one other thing, we're putting in more landscaping than would normally be required by code. So these guys will have the site, by next summer, because again, you can't plant a couple plants in the winter, but we're literally under construction now with the site work, but we're exceeding all the requirements with respect to landscaping and buffers.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. I understand. I appreciate that. Are you going to have to rip out that landscaping when you demolish that building? You just mentioned that you were going to replace the building.
No.
We're planning on that maturing and not having to touch that. That's part of the design as well, as making sure that we don't have to mess around with that twice. I don't want to pay for it twice. I want it up nice. And the owner is really, that's one of his little sticking is make it look good. Take care of these people. They're allowing us to, operate in the town. We want to be a part of the town. Let's make it look good. So that's kind of stuck in my head that that's a priority for us.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
I'm fine with the letter.
I am as well.
Okay, Bill or Millie, you okay with what we have here?
Yeah, I'm okay. I am.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's it's out of it's not in the downtown area, so it's not as much of an eyesore. I'm still a little concerned, but hopefully things will go as planned.
Okay. Anything else from the applicant? Okay, this is not a public hearing, but there's a big audience tonight. If anyone, I'd be open to any comments. If anyone has a comment from the audience. Okay, I don't see anything. So with that, is there a motion to modify the decision pertaining to the planning board special permit with site plan approval, and special permit per groundwater protection overlay district rendered by the planning board on May 3rd, 2022, and recorded in deeds book 67845, page 268, so as to allow 2 phases of construction as specified in the letter from Vito Colonna, Cornerstone Engineering, Inc., dated October 4th, 2023.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. All in favor, Amy?
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye, aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Millie?
Aye.
And carries an aye. So that passes unanimously. Where is Vito tonight? He didn't join you guys?
No,
I don't know where he is. We couldn't get him.
he thought we could handle it
All right.
without him.
All right, good luck.
All right. Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much.
everybody.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
have a great holiday season, everyone. Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you,
too.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have the public hearing for 351 Ball Street, which is a public hearing site plan approval application for a wireless co-location for Boylston Emergency Equipment. Earlier in the meeting, I read into record the public hearing notice for this application, so that is in the record. And with that, is there, who from the audience would be representing that tonight?
There are several John Vittums.
Oh, yes,
So-
there's one.
That's gotta be the team.
Oh, okay. So let's see.
And Megan Youngbar.
All right, we'll just assume they're all, we'll have to figure out who the real John Vittum is. And Megan, you said? Oh, we already have Megan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's,
Okay. I think we just have about a few more Johns to come in.
And if there's a Kimberly Perlingy, she's on our team as well.
Oh, great. Yep, I see her there.
Thank you.
There we go. All right, we have a whole bunch of John Vittums in the audience still. So, and actually just a John, I wonder, bring him in. All right, if you raise your hand, you're in danger of coming into this meeting, so be careful. Let's see. Do you have, there's 3 other Johns here. I guess we'll bring all of them and find out. And then if you do have your name listed as John, and that is not your name, you can always click to rename yourself so that we can kind of see who's who, if you don't mind.
Is here if you can hear me.
Okay, great. Oh, so some are declining, I guess. Do I have everyone, or are there additionals that want to come into the meeting? If you want, let's see, you have one that declined to be promoted to panelist. Do you have everyone from your team here? I guess if you want to be included in the panelist portion, just raise your hand. Oops, there we go. All righty. We have a couple here. Okay, did I get everybody who wants to be included? All right, and if anyone on the team sees somebody you want to join, otherwise I think we just have 2 other Johns, but if they've opted to stay in the audience. So in any case, welcome. If you would like to present the highlights of your application, you're welcome to do so. If you would want to share your screen or speak to it, is there someone who would like to present, a primary presenter?
I can share the plans.
Great.
Let me know when you guys can see that.
We can, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So on behalf of the Boylston Emergency department, Green Mountain Communications, is seeking a site plan approval to install public safety telecommunications equipment on an existing 73.7 foot wood pole on the property located at 351 Ball Street in the town of Northborough. The proposed project includes the installation of 3 antennas, 3 coax cables, and the associated mounting equipment onto the existing pole. And then the pole itself will be surrounded by a 600 square foot fenced-in equipment compound that will also contain a 100 square foot prefabricated equipment shelter, as well as a propane generator. And I can. And so this is kind of showing the equipment shelter, or the full compound. This is the equipment shelter. This is the pole itself that will contain the equipment, and then the generator. And then John, if there's anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, so as far as the, I'm sure we'll get to it too, the fencing itself will be an 8-foot high chain link fence with the black slats. And we saw the comments from Northborough, and we will, in our plans, it dictates barbed wire, but we will omit the barbed wire, and basically we'll erect the fencing with just the standard, so that 8-foot high without the barbed wire. The communication shelter houses a 1-ton AC unit, which is low noise. The generator itself is a 14 kW generator, which is basically the generator is built with sound densing material foam inside the unit to keep the noise levels low, so we can meet the requirement. And basically the intent here is to house the communication equipment for Boylston to allow them to get coverage on the west end of town for them. This particular site was chosen just to the elevation of the site. Our full intentions are to give coverage to the west end of Boylston and cover that dead zone area. And obviously, potentially, it will help the public safety for the police and fire. And hopefully, and need be, assist with Northborough PD as well. And the whole intent here is there's 2 existing poles. There's a 72-foot pole. We're performing a structural analysis on the integrity of the pole and so forth, so that we can present that to you guys as well. Our engineer, Chapel Engineering, said that it is structurally capable of holding the equipment and is safe. The poles are newer in age. Our intent there is both poles have existing RF equipment on the poles, and all the cables that are on the pole, on both poles per se, right now today, there is one existing antenna that the farm uses will most likely stay, but the rest of it we're going to clean up and remove from the 2 structures, so that any abandoned cables, any old like satellite dishes that are not in service, our intent is to clean all that stuff up. But that's basically in a nutshell what we have for this. And it's just to enhance we built a brand new radio system for Boylston during the previous year, and this site will fulfill their system, so it's working to capabilities that they need. So thank you.
Anything else? Is that? Oops, Megan, anything else that you want to?
No, yeah, I think that was it.
Such a big team, so I expected to hear more. I wasn't sure. Okay, great. Any comments or questions from board members? Amy, you have a question.
I have a question. Do abutters need to be notified for cell towers or communication towers?
They were notified. We notified everybody within 300 feet.
Okay, I just didn't see that. Okay.
My question, I don't know if the engineers know, is, well, it looks pretty far. How many feet from the pole to the nearest house? It's over 72 feet, I'm sure. It looks pretty far. I'm just thinking if it, they always asked if it ever fell. It doesn't look though like it's going to hit any houses except for what's in the area of the pole. And nobody lives on that site, I don't think.
I think based on proximity, the existing house, sorry, this is John with Green Mountain Communications. The existing house, the farmhouse that the Davidians own on the property, yeah, this structure is out back and it's approximately about 75 to 80 feet from the structure. So if it was to crumble and fall, it will not hit that structure other than the, obviously the Davidian building that we're going next to, obviously that's been there for years. That's right built next to it, but we don't foresee that happening. But obviously we can't prevent a national disaster, I guess. But the abutters on the street and stuff were well within fall distances of that. So if that helps explain it.
So you're pretty sure that the pole is at least
Structurally.
75 feet away from the house? Is there someone that lives in that house?
No, the house is currently abandoned. They have it
okay.
for storage, so no one lives there. No, not currently. No.
Okay.
And I don't want to speak for him. I'm not sure what the intent is for that house, but he does have plans of cleaning up some of the stuff, but that's in the future.
Most of the questions I had were answered by the conditions I saw. I was happy. Lori, have they seen the conditions yet?
They have.
Okay. I was happy to see that there's going to be an annual RF measurement for the antennas. I was also happy to see there's a condition about noise and a condition about verifying the pole safety, because those were my concerns, but I see that Lori covered them in the conditions, so I think that's great. I'm not sure if we should get rid of the barbed wire. I know we don't want barbed wire because of the look, but I think for cell, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Lori, but I think for that equipment with the cell towers, don't you need the barbed wire to keep people out, or not really?
I've been involved with cell tower projects that did not include barbed wire. So,
I mean, we could take it out. I think the one at Kearney Park has it though. Maybe because there's so many people.
Another alternative is the mini mesh. So the mini mesh will make it difficult to climb up the chain link fence.
Maybe that would be better. The mini mesh, so no one could climb, because it is an area where there are a lot of kids near the apple orchard, but they shouldn't be that far away. But I don't know, it'd be good to keep people out just in case.
I thought I saw a hand up. Maybe you took it down. John, did you have something for that one? Or
Yeah, my only for speaking for Boylston, where this is public safety, that's the only reason why we contributed the barbed wire to this, was just because of the public safety equipment that's going to be housed within the unit. Obviously it's sensitive and proprietary information that they have, but we are trying to, we don't want to have any particular individuals, break into the shelter to hack into their systems and so forth. But basically where it's for public safety would be my only recommendation, that the barbed wire stays, but it just enhances the security for the shelter and stuff like that, of course. But that's just my 2 cents.
Since it can't be seen, I don't know if I'm adverse to it if it keeps people out.
thoughts from the board on that? Preferences, barbed wire?
I'm sort of with Amy on that. I think public cell tower is one thing, but this is public safety communications, right? That you need to be a little bit extra secure.
I'd agree with that.
So would the mini mesh you speak of accomplish the same thing, or not necessarily?
Maybe not if it's for public safety, like with security for their communications. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so is the applicant's preference barbed wire? Is that what I'm hearing?
it would be our preference to keep the barbed wire. The mini mesh does help, but there's been cases, obviously, probably that people do get it. I mean, no matter how we look at this, if they want to get in there, they're going to get in there. But the barbed wire is a real good deterrent to keep them from going in.
Okay.
So however, what sees fit, but we would prefer to keep the barbed wire.
All right. It sounds like a majority of the board is in favor of keeping it. Amy, Bill, Anthony. At
Yeah, I
least.
don't have a problem with it.
You'll just have to vote on the waiver request. So if the Boylston team can submit a written waiver request from the barbed wire. So that's zoning bylaw section 7-10-040F subsection 7. So if you could just email that to me, it doesn't have to be anything fancy for the file.
Wait, so we were originally going to waive that, but now we're not. So I'm not going to make that motion anymore.
I think they want that. So the barbed wire was a violation of that section. So in my comments, I had suggested that they either eliminate it or they submit a written waiver request. So then I assumed that they wanted to keep it. So I put it in the draft decision as a waiver request. So all I need is something in writing from them asking for that waiver for the file. But so my recommendation is that you folks vote on that waiver request.
So that we actually vote to waive it?
Yes.
But we don't want to waive it.
That we waive the fact that because barbed wire is not allowed in town. So we need to waive that
thank you.
requirement.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay. Yeah. So the conditions does not stay, but the motion does.
Yeah.
So you would just vote on the waiver so that way they could have the barbed wire.
I know, but is there a condition in here that says otherwise it needs to come out? I'm just looking quickly. Nope. Okay, perfect. Okay, so speaking of waivers, we have a lot of waivers for this one. So the same requirement to waive the locust plan at scale of 1 inch to 100 feet. This one is at scale of 1 to 80. Requirement to show existing and proposed topography contour lines at 2-foot intervals. Waive planning board rules and regs to show nature, location, and size of all significant existing natural land features, trees, shrubs, etc. Motion to waive requirements to show provisions for waste disposal, dust, erosion control, and proposed fire hydrant locations. Requirement to show the proposed stormwater management system, requirement to submit a landscape plan, requirement fencing shall not be constructed of barbed wire. Most of these look like it was just because they were not applicable. Lori, is there any other specific?
Yeah, there were a whole host. There were even more waiver requests than that, which were definitely not applicable. So I didn't include them here.
Okay.
But these, you could say, well, you should put a dumpster on site, but I thought it was appropriate to grant all of these waiver requests. So
okay, and
that
you
was
have
my recommendation.
confirmations needed. The existing vegetation, including trees, will not be removed as part of the project. Is that something we have confirmation on, or we still need?
I was hoping for confirmation tonight.
Oh, I can speak on that on behalf of Boylston. This is John Vittum. We do not plan, basically what vegetation we plan to uproot and clean up is on the compound area where our fencing and stuff is, which is right off of the field for the farming agriculture part. We're going to clean that up and just, basically dispose of all the trash and stuff that's on site. So that will be cleaned up. But we have no intentions of cutting any trees or, doing any devastation to, existing, trees that are on site. So we're just cleaning up our area where our compound's going to go. So it's, presentable and safe for us to work in. And this compound will be weed mat and stone and so forth. And, proper drainage, we'll be able to filtrate. So it'll be clean and, when we're done. So, but we're just doing basic scrub cleanup on the subsurface grade.
Amy, you have a question about that?
Yeah, not really about that, but other cell towers we have in town where they put in the fencing and the slats, we've had a couple abrevieties around it, so it kind of like makes it blend. Like this is a whole farm area and people drive by with tugas. I didn't know if it would make sense to have some arborvitaes around the area.
We can take care of that if you need that done. We can put some, ones in there 5-6 feet or whatever, so it complements it and helps the look of it. If it's, if the board approves that, then yeah, we can definitely do that for you.
It helps it to blend so then it just doesn't stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, no, we're good with it. We can definitely make that happen.
Okay, so any board thoughts on that? Does that sound like something the board would want to see?
Yeah, I think it also helps with some of the security and just hiding it there.
Yeah, it doesn't stick out like the attraction.
Okay. So Lori, a condition, it sounds like we need a condition for the abrevieties. And do we need a condition about the not uprooting the trees component as well, or not necessarily?
Question about the arborvitae condition. Are you interested in only having the arborvitae planted on the two sides that are visible from Ball Street?
I would say so. I don't know how.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do we need a condition? Oh, go ahead. You had another question.
No, go ahead.
Anything about? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You can't see it from Green Street though, can you? Because there's a building there.
You can't.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Do we need a condition about not disrupting existing vegetation, or that won't be removed as part of the project, or the confirmation is fine?
I mean, I think it has to be a condition if that's what we really want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the question is, what is it that's there that they could remove?
Right.
Right? There's not much in that area, so.
Right.
How about we just specify trees? There are some trees that are further back behind the barn, and then there are street trees along Ball Street and along Green Street, but that's pretty much it.
Were there trees you were specifically concerned about when you asked about the confirmation?
No, I just wanted to verify because they were asking for the waiver of the landscape plan.
Okay.
So I just wanted to verify that they weren't planning on cutting down anything as a side project.
Okay.
Yeah, so for us, on the back side of this, where we are proposing this, it's literally abuts his planet, the field for the, his crops and so forth. So there's currently nothing there. It's wide open space. And yeah, we're just cleaning up the little bit of weeds and stuff that grew up over the years behind this building. So it'll be, we can do our work, but it's very minimal. It's just basically weeds is what it is at this point.
Okay. Does the board want a condition here, or we just need to give Lori guidance on this one? Do we feel the need for a condition or no?
Lori, do you feel the need?
No, I think their confirmation is pretty much all I need.
Okay. Board members okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Any other and I'll open up to public comments as well. Anything else about the waivers the board wants to discuss that are currently requested?
I think they all make sense based on the plan.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I will welcome public comments and questions at this time. Anything from the audience this evening? You can either raise your hand or dial *9. Okay, I don't see any additional questions or comments from the public tonight. So Lori, in this case, we now have conditions A through K. Oh, no, I'm sorry, J. correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, any additional questions or comments from the board or staff or the applicant? All right, with that, why don't we go through, first we'll go through our motions for waivers. We'll look at the site plan criteria again and take a vote from there. So first
Yeah.
is there, I'm sorry, Amy. you
Oh,
have
sorry,
something?
I was gonna make a motion to close the hearing.
Oh, good.
Second.
Sorry.
That's okay. All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
It carries an aye. Motion to waive planning board rules and regs section 7.2 C4 requirement to provide a locus plan at a scale of 1 inch equals 100 feet. The locus plan on sheet C01 is at scale of 1 inch equals 80 feet.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor,
Second.
Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
It carries an aye. Motion to waive planning board rules and regs section 7.2 C7 requirement to show existing and proposed topography contour lines at 2-foot intervals, which shall extend at least 50 feet beyond the site boundaries.
Moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
It carries an aye. Motion to waive planning board, motion to waive planning board rules and regs, section 7.2 C9, requirement to show the nature, location, and size of all significant existing natural land features, including trees, shrubs, or brush masses, specimen trees, and all other trees over 10 inches in diameter at breast height, grassed areas, and soil features.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
It carries an aye. Motion to waive planning board rules and regs, section 7.2 C15, requirement to show provisions for waste disposal, dust erosion control, and proposed fire hydrant locations.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in
Second.
favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
It carries an aye. Motion to waive planning board rules and regs, section 7.2 C17, requirement to show the proposed stormwater management system.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
It carries an aye. Motion to waive planning board rules and regs, section 7.2 C19, requirement to submit a landscape plan.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
It carries an aye. Motion to waive zoning bylaw section 7-10-040F7, requirement that fencing shall not be constructed of barbed wire.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
Carries an aye. Okay, before we go into the motion for site plan, why don't we take a look at the criteria as we did before? If everyone looks at page 716 of the decision criteria. Planning board shall approve a site plan if it determines that the site plan meets all applicable requirements of the bylaw. But given the location type and extent of land use proposed by the proponent, the design of building form, building location, egress points, grading, and other elements of the site plan could not be reasonably altered to number one, reduce clearing and grading on the site and so on.
Yep.
If you don't agree. Reduce the risk of groundwater contamination and so on.
Yep.
Improve pedestrian, bicycle, or vehicular safety, etc.
Yep.
Improve access to each structure for fire and other emergency service equipment.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. There's also a letter submitted by the fire chief. Reduce visual intrusion by controlling the visibility of parking, etc.
Yep.
Yes.
Achieve greater consistency and compatibility with the surrounding area as to building design or scale, etc.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reduce glare from headlights, etc.
Yep.
Not really applicable anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't apply.
Avoid removal of avoid the removal or disruption of historical, traditional, or significant structures, etc.
Yep.
Yeah.
Reduce obstruction of scenic views from publicly accessible locations.
Yep.
And no variances required on this plan, on this application. So with that,
Right.
is there a motion to grant site plan approval per zoning bylaw section 7-03-050A1A and section 7-03-040D for the co-location of the town of Boylston's public safety telecommunications equipment to be installed on the property at 351 Ball Street, subject to findings of fact 1 through 8 and conditions A through J?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
And carries an aye. Okay, great. The site plan passes unanimously. Thanks very much for your presentation and
Thank you.
nice to see a neighboring town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, Millie, do you have to go?
Thank you.
Are you, thank you so much. I think you were
Yeah,
are
I
supposed to cut
actually
it.
have to scoot out.
Yep, go right ahead if you need to scoot out. Just we'll just note it for the minutes that Millie is departing the meeting at 7:52 p.m.
Bye, Millie.
Thank you.
Bye, Millie. Enjoy your vacation.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Alrighty, so let's see, there was another. Millie.
I only have the meeting minutes for October 3rd for you this evening. We were hopeful that we could get the other ones done, but it just didn't happen.
That's okay. I think it was only November 14th was the only other one listed here, so it's not bad. Really liked the format of the minutes this time around. Is that our new minute taker?
It is. Yes,
Wonderful.
Brenda is now fully on board with the planning board minutes.
Well, she's gonna love it. Okay, were there any amendments to the October 3rd minutes? I didn't see any come through. I didn't have any myself either. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes from October 3rd as submitted?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
okay, all in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Amy,
I have to abstain. I wasn't there.
okay, Anthony,
Aye.
and carries an aye. So the minutes passed by the majority required. It sounds like we don't have any A&Rs, lot releases or bonds. Any subcommittee updates tonight? Next planning board meeting is December 19th. What do we have going? Are we going back to bylaws on the 19th? Is that what our plan is? Any applications on the horizon?
Yes, I don't have any applications for the 19th, although I do have bond releases.
Oh, okay. And then master plan coming up December 21st. And ZBA on not till January. Oh, the ZBA doesn't meet this month?
No, they canceled due to the Christmas holiday. I think there's a typo. The next meeting is January 23rd, not the 21st.
Oh, okay, so that's fine. Next ZBA meeting is the 23rd. Okay, that's great. Unless there is any additional business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Again,
Second.
all in favor, Anthony,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and carries an aye. Thanks so much. Have a
Good
great
night.
Thank you.
Aye.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
Everyone.
Bye.
Aye.